Now, Anthony Albanese, another problem for him. He's just learned how dangerous it is for a male Prime Minister to go to a women's protest against male violence. Now it's exploded in his face. Publicly called a liar, a bully, a misogynist. And I now have video to show he has been caught out, despite his denials. This is such karma, by the way. I mean, 3 years ago, Albanese mocked then Prime Minister Scott Morrison for wisely chickening out of going to the Women's March for Justice at Parliament House, where Brittany Higgins falsely accuses Liberals of covering up a rape.
Not so much a tin air as a wall of concrete.
But yesterday, Anthony Albanese turned up to a similar rally against domestic violence and the murder of 27 Australian women so far. 27. And right off the bat, he was accused of lying and got heckled.
To be clear, we did ask to speak, myself and Katie, and we're told that that wasn't possible, and that's fine. I respect the organisers' right to do that.
That's a full-out lie.
To do that. We now have 10 days paid domestic. I agree it's not enough. I said that. We need to do more.
Now, I was at first inclined to give Albanese the benefit of the doubt. It was a bit messy, a dispute about whether he could speak unless he agreed to the march's demands. But march organiser Sarah Williams went for Albanese this morning.
They said that they weren't coming to speak, they were just coming to walk in solidarity. I'd actually asked him, their office, if he would speak, if he could commit. And they said, look, it's a bit too busy, but Katie Gallagher would happily speak. Him coming out and saying that he asked to speak and was denied was really, really upsetting. It was quite traumatic for not only me, but everyone in the audience, all victim survivors, honestly, across the country, because our Prime Minister just flat out lied on a national scale in front of the whole country.
Maybe, but in fact, Williams also posted this claim that Albanese abused his power by aggressively stating, when I asked the crowd if we should let him speak, I'm the Prime Minister of this country. I run this country, and this demonstrated, she said, his entitlement. Now, asked about all this today, Albanese didn't quite give a direct answer, but suggested Williams was just being emotional.
You were called a liar. How does that sit with you?
Look, I'm focused on the issue, Carl. It was an emotional day for people, and I get that.
So she said you're on the stage with her and there was confusion about, you know, who was going to speak, and then you said behind her on the stage words to the effect of, I'm the Prime Minister and I run the country. Did you just say that?
Well, Nat, I'm not going to get into, you know, that sort of debate.
Well, she's come on national TV and she's saying that all, like, in radio and TV around the country.
Unfortunately for Albanese, there were cameras there with microphones. Now, I first thought, no, Albanese surely wouldn't try that. Do you know who I am? Line. But this afternoon, the ABC found TV footage which shows he did indeed say, I'm the Prime Minister.
I'm happy to know what we were intending to talk with the ministers, hear what they have to say, and then we'll consider the decision of them speaking about 10 minutes. But I'm not having any attacks towards myself or the organisation. Speaking or not speaking?
Now, maybe that's not a huge deal, but it sure would be for the media if it was Tony Abbott or Scott Morrison. You know that for sure, don't you? And I wonder now if Albanese is a bit rattled by his fall in popularity. I thought it was a fool to take that attitude you saw onto the stage. You know, you stop me speaking and I'm the Prime Minister, and barking at an interjector. Men have no licence to stand on their dignity at rallies like this. That's the way things go. But there is another thing. Albanese and his ministers are now overreacting. Now, first is calling a meeting of the National Cabinet this week, the Prime Minister and all the Premiers, to supposedly take immediate, meaningful and practical action to address family violence. But I wonder, I mean, what, they haven't been acting already? What can they do in one day? Well, in fact, Albanese's Minister for Women today said, yes, we have been acting. They've got 2 years into a great new plan to tackle exactly this. And she then made an impossible promise.
We're 2 years into a 10-year plan. The goal in the national plan is to end violence against women and children in a generation.
Now, I would love to end all domestic violence. I'd love to be able to cure it overnight. And I do believe there are changes we can make to make it less out there. But to end domestic violence completely in a generation, I think you've got to believe in pixies to think that violence and meanness can be wiped out of human nature, sadly. But I do, on that point, want to end with some good news that no politicians would dare say right now. I mean, everyone wants to talk about this crisis, and every death we've had this year is indeed tragic, and it is too many, and there's been some shocking examples, and there's always more we can do. But the bottom line is this. The Australian Institute for Health and Welfare reported last year that since 1989-90, a quarter of a century ago, the rate of domestic homicide has halved. Now, it's still not enough, I know. There's been an uptick this year, but to halve the rate of women killed in less than a generation tells me we are doing some things better already. And we shouldn't give up hope for more still. But that's another thing you couldn't really say at a rally like that, especially not if you're a man.